This is the continuation of our Ionic Angular front end image upload. If you haven't seen the first part of this video, please watch that first. I just cut out because I ran out of memory space, but I have now got rid of that problem by deleting some files, and now we can continue on the image upload. So just to recap where we're up to, we've done a lot of work so far already, and we've made it so that when we upload an image, if I upload this new image here, it will propagate through the code base into various spots, like here as well, and in the popover as well. And of course, if I refresh the page, then the change persists. So, and I also made it so that it won't accept any documents that any file types that aren't an image, or like a JPEG or a PNG. And if they have renamed the file that was a text, for example, they renamed it to a PNG, we've used file type to check for that. So we've done a lot of work so far, and we've used RxJS with subscriptions and observables and subjects to propagate the stream of observables and connect to those or subscribe to those throughout our application. And we've done this for the user image. But one thing to note is we've actually brought in these posts, and you can see here on these edit one and delete ones that these posts were actually by this user. So we need to update these posts such that the image reflects for that particular user. If we just take a look at the database here to refresh our memory, for this first user we have an image, and for the second user we do not have an image. Right now you can see that we've just got some hard coded values here. So one thing I was doing was I was just making sure that this John Pepink name was also not hard coded in the modals and the popovers. So where we left off is we're just fixing up that. Now we're just ignoring the template problems here for the popover component. We'll come back to that in error handling. But basically, when we're looking at the the profile summary component, we have a behavior subject, which means we're able to get the next name. So if you log in and log out, that will be updated. You get the full name here, which is what we're going to bind in the template. So if I open this up here, you can see that we've got the full name here. So we close this. So basically, in the ng on a init for the profile summary component, this is where we have the auth service user full name. So we are able to get the full name of the current user. We just take one and we go ahead and we subscribe. So we're able to get the full name back and emit this next here. So that means if we want to copy that same sort of format, we can just copy the code more or less into our popover component. We'll start off here. So we'll start by getting this full name, behavior subject and full name. So we're able to copy this code here on the ng on init. So we'll just get that there. Now we're already using the auth service, so we don't have to bring it in again. We'll just bring in this RxJS operator for take one. And we're just setting it here. So if I go back to the component here, because we're taking one, we don't have to unsubscribe. So we can just go into our template here and ignore the errors and just type in full name, and we should Now we're getting John Pepink, but it's the you know, the subscription version of it. So I'm going to do the same thing in the start post component. So I can close these, and if I open this start post component and inside the modal for it, I'm going to hard code this as full name. Now this will temporarily break, but we'll quickly fix that in an analogous way. So we'll bring in the full name and the observable subject, behavior subject. Go to the ng on init, get the full name, user full name, call that pipe 1 just to take 1, so we don't have to unsubscribe because that will do it for us. And that's it. We've already got the auth service. Now we just check that the name appears, so it does. So we're doing well. And let's see what happens if we create a post. And of course we already know what's going to happen. We get the hard-coded image. So let's start to work on the images in the all post section. So let's work on our all post component. In the all post component TypeScript file, we have, whenever we make any changes, they will allow for, when we create a post, for us to post that in. So we want to also have the image name there. So when we're getting the post, we also want to add the image name there. So right now we're using this get selected post. So since we've already created this method, you know, you could update the backend, but let's just go ahead and keep using this one. So we're going to get our post back, and for each post or post index, let's say, we're going to cycle through and we're going to push to our all loaded post, each of the posts. So we're getting, let's say we get 20 posts back. We're getting all of them back, we're cycling through them, and we're adding those to this all loaded post, which is what we're seeing in memory. Oh, it's in memory, and that's what we're using to see the posts that we're seeing here. So what we want to do, and we should also get the image for that as well. So essentially, if there is a, you don't have to have an image, so let's just create a variable here. So we'll just say does author have image, and this is going to be equal to, well, first we want to check the post for the post index, and if there's an author, and if there's an image path. So and of course this is happening in the loop. So we've got a for loop here. We're going through all of the posts, and then we want to check, does the author of a particular post have an image? So we can do this by checking if the post because the post, it has a reference to the author and the author has the image path, we can actually determine whether or not they have it. So we can go ahead and use a double exclamation mark, which will coerce it into a Boolean type. So true if it has an image path, false if it does not have an image path. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let full image path be equal. And we've already in our auth service, we've defined this default path here. So let's go ahead and use that. So this .auth service .get default full image path. So we're going to assume that unless the author has their image, and then in which case we'll override the full image path variable, and we'll just go ahead and we'll set that to the get full image path. So we can go ahead and get that, and of course we're going to need to get that from the auth service, and we'll also need to pass in the image, the path. So what we can do is we can say, well, essentially we just want this here. You could refactor this out a little bit, but I'm not going to bother. So based on that, on the, the image name, we can get the full image path. If it's not there, you get the default. If it is there, you will override it and get the full image path. It's simple enough. Now, before we push it though, we want to add a property here. And if we take a look at this post, just a single post here, we'll see that a post does not have a full image path, and it shouldn't, because elsewhere in the application we're not using that at all. So you could have another type here, another interface, but since we're looping through the post anyway, I'm just going to create my own on the fly. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, for the post that we're after, so for the post, for the particular post index that we're up to, I'm going to add a property, and I can't use the dot syntax because this is going to infer a post type, so I sort of have to cheat a little bit. And I'm just going to add this full image path as a property to the post object, and that's just going to be equal to the full image path, which is either the image that's not there or it's this here. And then from there, when we push our post, we'll be able to get the image. And then if it's an initial load, this is just some pagination stuff that we've done before. We're calling the get post at the beginning, so we're loading the data and we're presenting it. And then we also, what we want to do here is we want to also have a subscription. So we want to have a user subscription. So we know how we can do this. We can come to the top of our class and define a private user subscription, which is of the type subscription. And that means we're going to implement the onDestroy lifecycle method, because when we, after we're finished with our logic, that's used the subscription, we need to unsubscribe from it, and so we don't get a memory leak. So we can just run this ng on destroy method here, and all this is going to do is going to take our user subscription and unsubscribe for us. So of course we're going to need to subscribe to it, and we know that a good place to do that is in the ng on init. So we've got the post service, the auth service. So on this ng on init here, I want to adjust the logic, well, have some more logic in here. So I'm going to say this dot user subscription, and setting the variable of a subscription calls the particular thing where particular observable as long as we're subscribing to it, and that's why you unsubscribe to it. But yeah, it makes sense. We have a subscription, meaning it's subscribed to, and then when we assign the variable here, it's already subscribed to, so it runs the subscription, and then we unsubscribe to that. So this is expecting some sort of subscription. So what we want to do here is we want to use the auth service, and we want to use the user stream. So recall in the auth service, we have this user stream, which is our current users details, and we want to just pipe into this observable. Actually, we will not need to pipe into this because it's we don't need anything other than the user. So let's just go ahead and subscribe, and we don't need the brackets, the curly brackets here, because we've got this get method here, so that's implied. So we're just going to subscribe here. We know we're going to get a user back, whatever the current details of the user are. And what we want to do though is we want to make sure that the loaded post, it has the correct image associated with it. So what we can do here is we can actually go through our loaded posts. So let's just do that for all of the loaded posts. For each, what we want to do, and we know that each all loaded posts have a post of the type post, and we also want the index of that post, which is just a number. So, and this is where we implement the logic. So if a user, and they might not have an image path, so we use the Elvis operator because we haven't made the check just yet. If the user has an image path and the post, the author of the post, their ID is equal to the user ID, meaning they're the logged in user is equal to the author of the post, and they have an image path, we can just say for that particular index of that loaded post, and we can say in a similar way to before, we can get the full image path. And I'll just see if I got the user here. We'll import that model in, and this is going to be equal to the auth service get full image name. So recall this method here, get full image name, and I might have actually called this get full image path. So we just tap in the image name and then we get the where it is on our server. So this auth server get full image path by the image name. So that's the wrong method here. And what we'll pass in here is the user and the image path here. So what's happening? We get our post, and when we get our posts, we're going to get them with the correct image. So that's okay. But if they make a change to the, if they add a new post, for all there to be an image there, we need to subscribe to the user stream such that when there's a change, we can say that for the post that's changed, we can go ahead, or that's been added or edited, we can go ahead and we can get the image path for that. And how the actual changing occurs is through this ng on changes. Recall that we are passing in at a higher level at the let's see here. I'll just search for the all posts component. Actually, the component of it. So yes, on the home page here, recall that we start a post. When we start a post, we call the event emitter, which we get the post body here, and then we pass that body into here. So essentially, and the start post is, you can also edit the post. So when something's edited or added, this body variable will be changed, and since there's this ng on changes, that input variable will be detected. So what we want to do is we just want to get the post body, and if there's no post body, then we just exit the method here. But if we have something, we want to create a post, and what we want to do here is, before we add it to our or loaded post array, we can go ahead and we can we need the full image path, and we've got that from on the getting the post and also on the ng on init here. So we can just go ahead and we can say this.auth service create post, chuck in the post body. This auth service, and get the user full image path, and then we pipe into that observable. We take one, we subscribe to the observable, which gives us the full image path. We know that's a string, and this is where we can say, okay, for the post, we can set something that's not actually there. So we do this syntax here. So a post is of the type post, but it doesn't have this full image path, but we need it at various stages. We've set it at various stages so we can access it rather than the dot object syntax, this square bracket syntax. And we can just set that to the full image path we're getting back from our auth service for our user, and then we can just go ahead and we can put this in there. So we can make everything dynamic now. So on this iron image here, rather than using this hard-coded value, we can use the post and we can use the full image path. Now we got IntelliSense and type safety. So one way we can trick this is we can wrap the post and we can convert that to the any type. Now you don't want to do this that often, but in this circumstance we're fully aware of what we've done here, and we've encapsulated it within this one component that we're not using elsewhere in the application. Obviously you'd want a different approach if you're to be growing further than this and building on top of these components, but due to the fact that I know the scope of this application, I'm comfortable and this is fine. So for our purposes, so basically here I'm going to say, well, we know that a post, it has an author which has a first name, and then it also, for a post, there's an author, there's a last name. This role, which is hard coded, edited. So yeah, all this stuff's pretty much the same. All we really want to do is just save that now and see what we get. So alright, now we can see that we have our post here as well. So let's see if that has worked for us. I'm going to go ahead and add this John Pepping profile picture, and we can see that in addition to the user image places, it's also updated for our particular the user, and that's great. Let's refresh. We can see that the change has persisted. Now let's go ahead and make another post. Is this going to work? Let's post that, and we can see that we've got this user here. We can edit it. Yes, it works. It detects the change. The image is the same though. If I refresh now, we still see that, and yeah, if I go ahead and I sign out and I sign in to John 2, we can see that there was a flicker of a little bit of a caching issue, but if you refresh, and that's to do with Ionic, it will actually, I think you need to actually set something up there in terms of caching to remove that. But if you just do a refresh, you can see that you get your image here. It's a blank image. Now what happens if you make and you can see that the name here has changed, the name here has changed, and the name here has also changed. Now if you are to create a new post with a profile that does not have an image, what happens? Well, you just get the profile with no image. And if I were to add an image here, let's try add a document. So nothing happens, we get this error message. Let's add our fake PNG file, which is a text file renamed to a PNG. Nothing happens, file format's not supported. And if I change to another image like this Nest logo here, we can see that it updates everywhere throughout our application. So that's all I really wanted to focus on today. We've covered quite a lot with the image upload, and I hope it's been helpful. If it has, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow along with this LinkedIn clone series. We've made some really good progress, and yeah, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers. I'll see you in the next one.